You are live. That's us live. Right. Hi, people. That's a zero there. Hi, folks. Dan here, back with your one and only Peter Speak from Scarborough. We're here tonight to talk about youth and rehabilitation, Scotland and down in England, justice laws. So, as I say, we'll take it from, I'll ask Peter about his kind of laws down in there, what they're like, and we'll just take it for there kind of thing. But glad to see you back, Peter. Last week was a bit something happened, but as I say, we're back here this week, and we can just try and get on with what we're talking about. So, what do you think about the youth and rehabilitation, the new in the justice system?
My experience will be very different to yours again, Darren.
Yeah.
It's probably a little bit an harder subject for me, that one, because I haven't really dealt with anything as a child within sort of prison-wise. The only running I had with any sort of problems as a teenager, sort of with police or justice side, I got caught shoplifting when I was about 11 years old. I remember getting taken to the police station from school and getting questioned. And then I remember the policeman taking me home, took me back at home at my dad's. And I was mortified. I was absolutely mortified. And that's the only real running I have with the police until years and years later. That's me personally. From a school perspective, I was probably lucky to struggle to stay in mainstream school. I certainly wouldn't in this day and age have stayed in mainstream school. I would have been expelled or excluded or removed. I certainly wouldn't have stayed in normal education in now, in 2021. But I did have friends at school who were from foster and care homes, like foster parent.
Yeah.
So I do have a little experience from a school point of view, but very, very limited to what I've experienced personally from that point of view. So I think in some ways it might be better for me to ask you a few questions tonight, because I think you'll be able to answer more. I think you'll be able to answer more on that than I will.
Mm-hmm.
So if I were asking you a question, I'd say, when did you first sort of become involved in that system, in that way of life?
And the kind of right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, first, I'm from a wee town in Bonnybridge, in Falkirk, sorry, called Bonnybridge. My first dealing with the police was when I'd say I was about 7, 8. That was just for your mainly smashing windows and kind of doing all your kind of naughty boy stuff, you know what I mean? Jump their head, these kind of stuff like that.
Did you get into much? Like when you first got into trouble with the police, did you find yourself in trouble, or would you just get a warning and you don't do it again?
You get a warning. You know what I mean? The local will be come out and give you a wee warning. You know what I mean? But I didn't take the warning. You know what I mean? I was the kind of person that, like, if you're going to hurt me or do something like that, then I'll fucking do it twice bigger. You know what I mean? And harder.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was my motive. And for the simple fact is, I watched my mum and dad argue for years. You know what I mean? And I think it was just kind of boiling at me. You know what I mean? And I was just kind of, as I was saying there, it went to like 6 or 8. It was just smashing windows, battering beat all my wee pals and stealing their bikes and all that kind of crap. And, you know what I mean? Then when I hit about 9, that's when I was starting to get used by the older ones. You know what I mean? Breaking into houses. I was stealing car radios. You know what I mean? Stealing car radios. Basically stealing anything. Older. You know what I mean? At 9, then the drugs come in, the cannabis. You know what I mean? Then
So were you involved in drugs when you got into trouble for the first time and received some sort of punishment?
I didn't. No, I didn't. No, I didn't start taking drugs till I was about 9. As I say, that was cannabis. Then it led on to like diazepam, no coxes back then, and it was just went for spiral to like housebreaking to car theft. Then it was robbing like buildings, businesses. You know what I mean? But and the punishment side of it, it was just like you got took to a children's panel. You know what I mean? Or you got to write off your social worker. You know what I'm talking about? There was no like because you were underage to get charged. You know what I mean? So you could do what you want. You know what I mean? It was just aye. You know what I mean? You just got a wee kind of warning for the local postman. Your mother and father, or you took him to your mother and father, whatever. You know what I mean? And basically that was your rehabilitation for kicking the fucking body of the post in the back of the van. You know what I'm talking about? A poor way really. But as I say, my my childhood was hard. For like I was a wee boy, born in number 2 Park Street at the bottom of Park Street. So then I moved up to the cul-de-sac in Park Street at number 45. But you know, it was what they fend for themselves, realistically. You know what I mean? Blah, back then he was just fucking wanting to go and drink, pass the gyro up and all that. And my mom, she had to try and look after 3 years. I was the fucking wildest one because I've got ADHD. And so I can remember stealing like 2 pensies and I can remember my nana saying to my mum, man, I can't take him fucking nowhere. And he's fucking doing this and doing that, you know what I'm talking about? So, you know what I mean? It was a way back to then, you know what I mean? But as I say, when it came to like crime wise, I was about 9 when the drugs kicked in. The hash wasn't doing fuck all. And you know what I'm talking about? Wasn't knocked me out of that, you know what I mean? So I just kept it, stealing cars, stealing fags out of fucking shops, doing this, doing that. You know what I mean? Getting used by all the older ones, be fucking asking for this and that. You know what I mean? And the drugs got me cockier. You know what I mean? The Valium, because the Valium make you look more cockier. You know what I mean? So you're not giving a fuck. Back in the days anyway, the real Valium, so I got cocky as fuck. And I was just walking about, thinking invincible at fucking 9-year-old. You know what I mean? Doing what I want to do. Then my brother walked on to me, what I was doing. Then it just begun for there. You know what I mean? Anybody kind of, if they didn't give us it, we just walked in and took it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Basically, you know what I mean? It was a cul-de-sac on Park Street, and we done 45. And if anybody knew to come in, right, and ask where you even in the Falkirk, you get pointed to number 45. You know what I mean? I don't stay there anymore. My nan and that still stays up in the cul-de-sac, not but that house went with my mum and dad's fault. But getting back to the younger age, there's a lot falls in between 9 and 13, Peter. Like drugs, dealing drugs, attacking people, beating, driving lorries, flat lead lorries, to Glasgow, down to Newcastle with slates, you know what I mean, for the older ones, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Cause my brother was a good driver, you know what I mean? He was 14, that was Barry, and as I say, he was a wee bit older, and he could drive it, and Paul got into doing the driving what he's doing, and I always just tagged along. But they knew I was the gamest one out of the three of us, you know what I mean? And even though I was only, let's say, about 10, 11, I looked older for my age. It must have been acne in my face. I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just looked older. You know what I mean? Because I managed to get into like nightclubs with like the local casuals, start fucking fights. Then I'd go out the door and let them deal with it. You know what I mean? Kind of stuff like that. That's what I was into. And the BSc, you know, I shout it. I'll say fucking. But as you're saying about the rehabilitation, there was nothing back then for rehabilitation. I mean,
Let me ask you this then. So what led up to your first offence that took you into a secure unit or a detention centre for the first time? What was the offence or the offences that led to that? What caused that situation for you?
oh, look, right. One, one. I was going up to the children's panel with 50 charges every month. At the age of 11, right up until I was 13. I was going to the children's panel every month with at least 50 charges, ranging from car theft, house breaking, fucking vicious beatings, fucking you name it, it was done. You know what I mean? Breaking property, breaking into properties, fucking I ran a cunt there, it would my money for a 9 bar, fucking put him right into the wall, and you name it, it was all done. And they just couldn't control me. You know what I mean? So what happened was that day I went up to the panel where my mum and dad was meant to come to the panel. I was already in a children's home, and the day of the panel, I didn't know this was going to happen. The day of the panel, well, my mum and dad were meant to come, but my dad came, right? And as I say, my mum was meant to come, but she never. I was walking up and where I stay in Falkirk, it's Asda, right? And it's like an underground car park. And as I say, you walk up the stairs and the bus station's right in front of you. You know what I mean? And the panel's away to your right. So I'm walking up the stairs and my social worker was like, there's your mum. I was like, where? And she was like, there at the bus. I goes, no, she meant me come to the panel. It's fucking 12:30, so I shouted on her, eh? I was like, ma'am, what's happening? I goes, you meant me come to the fucking panel. Oh, I'm sorry, son. I've got to my work. She jumped the bus, right? So I was like, right, what's going on here? You know what I mean? So my social worker was like, run down, we'll just try and get it at the fair. So we ended up going down to the children's panel, and I walked in, my dad was sitting, and the people were going through like all the charges, you know what I mean? Mr. Dawson, what we're going to do with him, and what we're going to do with him, you know what I mean? But there's none, we spoke to psychologists, we spoke to psychiatrists, I mean, he's just out of control, because my mum and dad had to take me out and let me drive their car so I can get to sleep at night. Because if they didn't, I'd go to steal motors. You know what I mean? That's like ridiculous cars. You know what I mean? And as I say, I went to the panel and my dad was sitting there, and he was, I can remember it, cream jacket, whatever, lot, and the guy turned around and said to him, just took his glasses off, turned around and said to him, hey, Mr. Carson, so what do you think? What we're going to do with him? You know what I mean? They will release him back into your care, or Jenky's going to keep what his behaviour going, or what? And my dad just straight away woke him up. And I just thought, right, you know what I mean? And I was like, what? I was greeting and that all. So I was fucking break my heart. I was only 12-year-old. And I was like, what's that? He woke me up. And he was like, Dan, I'm sorry, son, but I can't control you. And so, with me being me, I starts kicking up. So, next minute, the fucking panel, not banging on the table, postman runs in for the back, pins me to the desk. You know what I mean? My social workers, and I tell her to get out, and I go fucking handcuff in, and I'll say fucking, I'm only 12, 9, 13, and I've just been told, and my dad doesn't want me, just want my fucking mum. You know what I mean? Abandoned me and going on a fucking bus to go to work. You know what I'm talking about? And the next minute, I've got this fucking postman, and he's kind of bent me at a fucking table, pinning me down, tell me to calm down, and I'm fucking writing. You know what I mean? So my dad, he just walks out. You know what I mean? Nee, come on, son, that, blah, blah, so they didn't get that in, that. You know what I mean? Just away it went. You know what I mean? So I go back up, and the postman like, right, calm down, blah, 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 and that. We're going to need to take you out to your house, darling, and we're going to need to pack some clothes, and we're going to need to take you right to jail. And that was Jailsland, Boone and Beef. So I went for Falkirk, Children's Panel, my mum and dad's house in High Bonner Bridge. I walked up the fucking drive. My brother Paul is fucking howling, and my brother Barry are howling. They're fighting. They're actually fighting. You're not taking them. You're not taking them. And they're fucking lobbing bricks, and all my pals are lobbing bricks and hitting them with sticks and everything. You know what I mean? To try and get, they couldn't get me out of the seat. You know what I mean? And my dad got warned that he came back into the seat, he was getting fucking let up. And got what he'd done, And I was like, just leave it. I was just leave it. Fuck it. I was just calm down, And my brother was, it fucked him. You know what I mean? Because we were like twins, we were fucking, we done everything together. You know what I mean? And it was sad. Because he ended up drinking a bottle of vodka every night. He was only fucking 14, 15. It's sitting drinking a half litre of vodka every night. It was fucking devastated. You know what I'm talking about? And this was just for my dad to go away and get the house up and fuck off with a younger bud to my mum. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I mean? So he ruined all the businesses. We had ice cream vans, we had fucking wheelie bin companies, we had fucking window cleaning companies, landscape companies, sunbeds. You know what I mean? And my dad gave all that up for a fucking foxy fucking bud. You know what I mean? Because he was hanging about with fucking so-called gangsters with whisker. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So this is where it all kicked in. For the 12 to the 13, I was in Jailsland, and I was like, right, how can I get this cunt back? Right? So there were people, I got involved with his crew, for Glasgow, and they were asking me to steal cars for October. And I was just, everything my dad said, no, I defied him. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about? And I fucking just, no, fuck you, prick. You've not got any say in my life anymore. The day you put me in care, the day you let me go. You know what I'm talking about? Fuck you.
Yeah.
Right? And then I'll say, I just started many diggers, plant hire, beatings, you name it, it was all done. You know what I mean? It was all done. Then, as I say, that was all through. That was all through right up till I was 16. You know what I'm talking about? I was getting charged every fucking day, and going to secure unit, come back, running away, come back at the weekend, up into Bonnie Brig, getting more damage, fucking, you know what I mean? Continuing the cycle, taking drugs, drinking, fucking committing crimes, fucking battling folk hammer, battling folk fucking, used blades myself, shamed it, but as I say, and that was just like a time bomb waiting to go off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As I say, I used to watch like films and recreate the fucking acts in the film on the person. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about? Like, it was just, you know what I'm talking about? It was just, I'm going to fucking do you. You know what I mean? And that was it. And I started walking about with a hammer, with my leather jacket, I had a long leather jacket, and I was 14. And I started walking about with a hammer here, and a pole here, and I was fucking knocking guys. I was taking steroids now because my dad was putting steroids in a protein drink, because we done fucking like taekwondo, boxing, all that kind of stuff, and we were getting steroids put in our fucking drinks. We didn't know, so we were developing, and that's how I'm saying to you, I looked older than I fucking did. when I was 13. You know, when I was getting into nightclubs and all that. I mean, guys knew, the bouncers knew who I was. You're hanging with Carson Barry, right? You're only, fuck off you, right? I never, you know what I'm talking about. And then, as I say, um, the the rehabilitation side came into it was when I went to, when I was in jail, I'm sorry, I started doing paintings, right? And I know the painting, so it sounds daft, but it kind of calmed my brain down. I got my thinking that way. You know what I mean? For some reason, it just got took me away to another world kind of thing, eh? When I wasn't stuck in this horrible world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Why doesn't anybody want me? You know what I mean? Why did my mom and dad do that? Why did my mom and dad do that to me? Why, you know what I mean? So I was in there, then a certain thing happened. A wee guy, remember I told you about the thing he's selling that?
Yeah.
That knocked me for fucking six. You know? So I kind of looked at life then as like, wait a minute, you know what I mean? This is fucking getting a bit out of control here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm sitting here on dinner 100 miles away from my family. You know what I mean? But at the same time, my mum and dad fucking didn't bother their ass turning up to the panel and trying to save me. They fucking fucked off. You know what I'm talking about? So I was like, where do I go? Who do I turn to? You know what I mean? So I've not had anybody to turn to. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about? I broke myself up here 12-year-old. You know what I mean? It's hard. It breaks my fucking heart. You know what I mean? Because my brother Paul, he's suffering right now, really bad. And I'm the youngest out of three of us. And it's, what can you say? It's, I don't know, to cut your own brother down in a cell, then stuff like that. It brings it all back. You know what I mean? It brings it all back to reality. What we were fighting against back then. Because, as I say, my dad, you know, useless back pocket my mom, conditioned her. We were coming in, and I was getting fucking dragged out of still, getting fucking barred with a full queue, stuff like that. My mom was trying to stop it, but she got battered, so my brother would jump in and take it for there. Then the neighbour jumped there at one time and fucking, my dad was batting me with a picture of handle. I was only about 14. My dad was batting fucking me with a picture of handle out the back for calling him a bastard. Right? And the next door neighbour, Big Mingy, you know what I mean, fucking jumped there and fucking saved me. You know what I mean? And I used that rehabilitation in jailling to kind of adopt numb the pain out, if you know what I mean. But I met, as I say, my ex-partner, Anne Marie, who I've got the waiting when I was 15, and I got out of jail when I was 16, and I moved into a house in Greenwood. Although I was committing crime, I wasn't getting caught for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And as I say, she was a safe peg, everyone was fucking perfect, and I had perfect alibis, everyone was going so perfect. My life was great. Then, as I say, the heroin kicked in. You know what I mean? Then it was like, I've not to live here again. Then. You know what I mean? It was pish. You know what I mean? It was like, I've not to live for. My family's just been fucking ripped off me. I worked till I was 16, till I was 20 fucking 4. Maybe no, maybe it wasn't legit, but I still done it. You know what I mean? And as I say, I just, that part, I just couldn't understand. So when I go back out, in 2003, everything just went fucking mental. You know what I mean? I was fucking, every cunt was getting it. You know, every cunt, no cunt was getting it, fucking, eh? And they can all say what they fucking want. You know what I mean? I'm sitting here in a 40-year-old, you know what I mean? And I've done what I've done, you know what I mean? And I've done, and I've proved what I need to prove, you know what I mean? You can all sit and shout this and shout that, right? But I'm going to make a point here, and I'm going to walk off about Bonnybrig, in my hometown, and show all these haters, like, no, 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 no. Right? This cunt saying this, cunt saying that. Look, I'm standing there. You know what I'm talking about? What you got to say, cunt? You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about? That's what I get my head in. You know what I mean? Like, somebody says to me on a comment, oh, is that right? Well, I'm coming to see you. You know what I mean? And I can't get it out of my head until I see him. You know what I'm talking about? So
Yeah.
that's where it comes back to rehabilitation. I'm no rehabilitation. I'm no rehabilitation. And I don't know what, right? You've got love, right? People say, I love you. This, that. I don't know what love is. Because I didn't know what love is. If you've never been loved, how do you know what love is? Do you know where I come from? So
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do.
I've got to fight with this balance in my head every day. Eh, who do I trust and who do I not trust? You know what I mean? Because it's like I've not had anybody there taking a have a like I can't have a laugh with anybody because I think they're taking the piss. So I'm going to defensive. You know what I mean? Or anything like that. You know what I'm talking about? So that's where I'm at. You know what I mean? But the new at this stage of my life, there's still bad times. I don't commit crime. I've not committed a crime and then I got to Commandant in 2009, 2010, sorry, and I've not committed a crime or that. For then, and as I say, I've not been back to prison. I've touched drugs for 2009. So I'm doing some right, you know what I mean? But it's hard. It's hard trying to do it. You know what I mean? You need to cut away for the people that are in that circle.
Yeah.
If you didn't take yourself away from that circle, then you're going to get dragged back into that circle. People say to me, right, you ain't better than a cunt. How? Because, no, no. Listen, mate, I was not born to take care of. I was not born to take this. I was not born to do that. I got put in a bad situation in my life. I had to take that. Or somebody was getting fucking serious or injured. You know what I mean? I'm talking about.
Yeah, I
And
agree. Nobody at 15, nobody at 15 thinks, really, I want to be a drug addict and addicted to heroin by the time I'm 16. You don't think like that. That's not how it works. I agree. I completely agree with what you're saying.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, very, very much so. All what you said.
That scrambled my fucking head how all this was getting said. And then I managed to kind of change the negative into a positive in a fucking hard way. It took me years. You know what I'm talking about? Because I was like, right, family shouldn't do that, teacher. Non-stop. No. But people maybe call me an asshole, people call me a fanny, but see, at the end of the day, I never spoke to my, still did speak to my brother, Barry, I still did speak to him. No, I'm 74. But I'm in regular contact with my daughter, I got my grandson, and now she's pregnant again. So, you know what I mean? I'm happy with getting in contact with my daughter. You know what I mean? That's the only good thing about that relationship. You know what I mean? With my daughter and the grandbairn. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, obviously.
You know what I mean? I'm only 39. Anyway, that's it. You know what I mean? Fucking granddad, but I've never had that in my life. You know what I mean? So that's where it comes back to the issue when I was younger. And my dad, my mum, battling all the time, beatings all the time. This, that. I didn't want to show my bairns that. You know what I mean? I want to
Yeah.
show them that dad and mum's grew up and grew up to work for their money. You know what I mean? You maybe not be working, but even if you turn and say, say your kid, oh, come on, you get to school. I've got my work to get to. You're still waiting the housework. That's work. Parenting is a full-time job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, as long as you get the work ethic in their brain, you know what I mean, then they know what they're hungry for. But getting back to the rehabilitation side, my offending, I never got any help, Peter. No help at all. No help at all. I was just getting flung in cells. I was getting flung in the digger. I was getting let out. I was back in within maybe 3 4 weeks because I wasn't getting any help in the way out. Couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle it outside. I hate outside. I still hate outside to this day. You know,
It's funny you said that because I watched a TV program, like a documentary. It was only last week or week before, and it was about a documentary watching three prisoners that they were releasing from prison.
yep.
And it was just bizarre that, you know, the more you watched it, it was just like one of them was homeless. And like, well, you're not giving him anywhere to live before it. You let him out, and he's nowhere to go.
You never go
So you're setting him up to fail before he's even gone through the door. They said as much. The guards were like, he'll be back within 3 weeks. Obviously, we hope he isn't, but he'll be back within 3 weeks.
Peter, I'm going to tell you something, right? There was a time in my life, right? There was a time in my life that I used to purposely go out of the jail and just come back the next game day because I never had fuck all to come back out for. You know what I mean? I was my family were in Berlin. You know what I mean? In Glenorchy. That's where my family were. You know what I mean? And as I say, they weren't outside, they were inside. You know what I mean? So but even in the jail, there's no rehabilitation for the prisoners in jail either. You know what I mean? I don't know about now because I've not been in for 2009, 2010, but back then, you had education, right? But education was just like, they gave you books what a fucking 4-year-old would fucking read. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Or some, what a 4-year-old would do. You know what I mean? But there was no kind of, in Berlin, there's none rehabilitation bar an education block, which the woman just sits there and fucking lets you down, and you know what I mean? That's about it, really. You know what I mean? That's your rehabilitation in Berlin. Fucking kicking the balls the way in, the fucking bit the balls the way out. Right? You know what I'm talking
about? Well, I'm the same as you. I mean, it's funny we've ended up talking about this today because I've ended up today back in the same courtroom where I got sentenced myself 11 years ago for the first time. I went to prison. So I've been back there today and experienced that again today, sat as a member of the public in the observers gallery. In the gallery. It's fucking different sat there, and it's been obviously the defendant in front of the judge, but difficult today. Found that really hard, strange feeling.
It's really strange.
Yeah, and sitting there as like a member of, like same I was a member of public, I got out wrong, so I was in there just supporting somebody, and it just was a really surreal, weird feeling. But like you say, going back to prison, it was 2008, 2009 when I got sentenced to 2 years.
Yep.
Very similar. Education wing was very much like you said. One lady sat there. You know, if you didn't do a lot, you didn't do a lot. You know, there was 2 guards, I think, to 40 odd prisoners. So it was run by the prison, not by the guards.
In Berlin, you only had 1 yard per hall. You know what I mean? One yard per hall to go out and do your exercise. So there may be like one, two, three landings out. So you may be talking just under 70, 80 prisoners out in exercise year to 4 prison officers at one time. You know what I'm talking about? Maybe even more. Aye, and as I say, but Berlin, it's changing now. But as I say, back when I was in prison, there was no rehabilitation. I don't know about now. You know what I mean? what the rehabilitation is in prison, you know, but they need to start doing something about it because you've got the youngins coming out the now and they're no bothered about the jail. You know what I mean?
Well, if you go back to that programme I was watching, that must be in England because they were on about probation, and it was on about when it had gone to privatisation. The privatised part of probation, so some low risk offenders went into like the private probation, but they only get paid if you don't reoffend.
Well, that's it.
So everybody who's in that revolving door who goes in, out, they never accounted that they'd never be able to make any money. And now they're finding that they can't handle the amount of cases they've got. So everybody's getting left. And it's going wrong big time down here.
So prisoners in there are getting paid by the probation officer to not get the jail, basically.
They've privatised part of the probation service. So like Group 4 took over like taking prisoners to and from jails.
Aye.
Privatised the guards and the transport. They privatised half probation, so only serious offenders are stuck with the traditional probation.
Right, I've got you.
All low offenders like shoplifters, continuous drug use, anything of that nature will get to like this private probation service that's bought it under a contract, and obviously can't now because they're not getting paid for a lot of cases because too many of them are reoffending.
Oh, right, sorry, I've got it wrong. Right, so the staff are not getting paid because the people are just going out and fucking shoplifting and stuff like that, basically.
Just reoffending and then they're going back in. So the private probation don't get paid. They've got to stay out. I think it's clean for 2 years. Not reoffend for 2 years and they get paid. So they're not getting paid for the majority of cases they're dealing with.
That's no good, eh? That's no good, like. As I say, up here, the probation service is just run by like your local social work service. And that's who the probation workers up here. You didn't get in like that, like, and nothing like that what you're talking about down there up here. You didn't get in like that in probation. You know, when you breach your bit, you get 3 chances up here via probation. You get 3 warnings, and if you break your 3rd warning, you go straight back to prison. You know what I mean? So if the judge if the judge gives you 12-month probation and you can't be fucked, right? And you phone up, oh, didn't feel well, that's you miss your few probation appointments. You know what I'm talking about? So straight away they take it back to the judge, and the judge sends a warrant out for you, then you're away to jail. You know what I mean? So as you're saying about the private sector, maybe need to try stuff like that up in Scotland, sorry. You know what I mean? As different tactics, because the rehabilitation up here doesn't seem to be working. You know, isn't it? Because the Scottish jails right now are sitting very, very over capacity. You know what I mean?
And obviously COVID's had an impact, hasn't it, as well?
Definitely, Peter. Right, definitely. So, what was I going to say? So that was part of my rehabilitation. Was I just had enough yet. You know what I mean? I started going to the gym. I started getting myself into shape. You know what I mean? Started serious thinking. And it was a guy, I'm not going to mention his name, but he's a well-known character from Glasgow. But it was a guy actually said to me when I was doing the digger, listen to me, man, you're only, must have been, what, 29, 30, something like that. 26. No, 2009, I'm 39 now. 27 I was. And it was the gangster from Glasgow who was doing the digger. And the best thing he probably said to me was, wee man, I spent over 25 years in jail. He said, I'm about to do another 25 years. He said, so get your head out of this, he says, and get away and get yourself sorted. and that was when I was in for the armed robbery in Stirling. And I'll tell you about that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I got out, and the doctor gave me this chance of methadone prescription. Well, I snapped that up, and I was like, well, I'm listening to this man. And he's basically gave me a great bit of advice. And that's when I kind of got my rehabilitation for like all school prisoners. You know what I mean? Like, I never listened to normal people like social workers or anything like that. It was always like all school prisoners that educated me and made me realise. Then finally in 2009, when I bumped into that boy, he said to me, what you want to do this for? You know what I mean? There's a big world out there. You know what I'm talking about? Then
Yeah.
by 2009, 2010, I just never ever went back and never took drugs again. Yeah, apart from my methadone, but that's about it. You know what I mean? So that was my kind of rehabilitation, just kind of watching how all the snakes, all the politics, all the shit happens. You know what I'm talking about? And the jail kind of circulation, and all the honour among criminals and who the shit stirrers are and all that. And that's where I kind of learned my education on the street. You know what I mean? And my rehabilitation was in the jail. That, but out here, there's nothing for in Falkirk. There's nothing for that kind of stuff. So that's why I'm trying to kind of open up gates here. You know what I mean? And try to speak to Falkirk Council to try and get some done. You know what I mean? There's there's only one recovery group in Falkirk, and they've got enough on their plate. You know what I'm talking about? So another support group when they go amiss. You know what I'm talking about? So, or even just a channel like this. You know what I mean? What we're doing. So just something. You know what I mean? For people, what
Yeah.
the UK,
Right.
really.
Totally.
We're just Scotland or the UK. You know what I mean?
Totally agree, because it's so difficult. I mean, like listening to cars or something like that, and you get a little garage. You need something to do, don't they? That's the thing. So we take the mind off whatever's going on at home, whatever drugs are wrong, whatever problem.
Exactly. Anything you can do to steer a youth away from crime, drugs, and the gangster life, then you're winning a watch. You know what I mean? And as you say, it may be like buying an old banger. And, right, this is how you weld a car. This is how you do this. This is how you do that. Getting them off, as long as you can get them off the street and show them the right way of living, then you're kind of rehabilitating them. Then you know what I'm talking about. And yourself, really kind of like, well, I'm learning enough. You're learning enough each other kind of thing. You know what I mean? Because he maybe knows something that you didn't know. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about. It's just that's
Exactly that.
it. But other than that, I'm that's that's about it with my kind of life. There's also there's a lot there in debt. I mean, but can't cover that in the space of time we'll go. You know what I mean?
No, I totally agree.
You know what I mean? So I don't think any kind of kind of scheme or anything like that for rehabilitation for like prisoners or that, Fine. Or young offenders, See young offending. There's none to kind of show them or steer out the way. Like even get a group of them, take them canoeing down the canal. You know what I mean? Just stuff like that, But
What you
there's
need,
not.
what you need to do is maybe what you maybe need to do is get in touch with like probation, police, and children's social care maybe, and see if you can put like a plan into place and do something like that.
No, no, but I thought about that, I thought about that because at the end of the day, it's like I like to try and help people. I mean, and a lot of people they say to me because I'm not good to folk, A lot of people they say to me, "Damn, why do you not take a wee bit of your own advice?" You know what I'm talking about? Because
Yeah,
when I give them good advice and it sorts their life out, then I'm sitting here and they're like, "Damn, well, you're sitting giving me good advice and you think your life's shite. Why do you know kind of you know what I mean? Take a wee bit of your own." because you've changed my life, or you've kind of made my day. Or you know what I'm getting at, eh? And that's what I
Yeah,
maybe need
yeah,
to do. Maybe need to try and appreciate it a wee bit more. You know, what I'm talking about, and
yeah.
uh,
Totally agree.
go and speak to the people in the community and the councils to try and get a wee kind of funding or support.
Got to start. You've got to start somewhere. You
Well,
know,
that's it.
a smaller patch of allotment. I think just somewhere to start. You know that you can say, "Come down. I'll bring a flask.
Yeah.
I'll bring a couple of bottles of water. Don't have to be all fancy. You know what I mean? And then just see how it. You know, see what happens."
No, man, just kind of, just kind of go out and do some kind of gardening or plant flowers and you know what I mean, just stuff like that. You know what I mean? Just go to.
If nobody turns up, you'll have some nice veggies for the rest of the year.
Well, I definitely, definitely. But are there anything you want to add or that before we kind of finish up here?
No, like I say, you know, same again, really. I mean, I got first time I went in, I lost everything. You know, I got remanded, lost my flat. Um, Same when I come out. You know, I did have somewhere to go on tap, but even so, it was just still so daunting. Um, you know, it's still just daunting coming out with nothing really.
Right,
Um,
right. As
yeah,
but as long as you've got another, as long as you've got your partner and your family to come out, that's the main thing, eh? And try and keep the youth away from crime and stuff like that. That's the main achievement, eh?
of course.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult one, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah,
the other side of the coin is we talk about rehabilitation, coming away from the standard stuff like groups and stuff like that, like if you're into alcohol, say alcohol anonymous or drugs, a drugs course or a drugs and alcohol awareness course.
yeah,
You know, like there's places like Horizons down here and like Ellis Centre and places like that. Then you've got your general stuff through NHS. But I've had somebody come into me last week and say you can't use it like a revolving door. And I think the trouble is with people who have suffered bad traumas, like stuff you've seen, like stuff I've seen, stuff that's happened to you, stuff that's happened to me, and many others out there. We're not
yeah.
the only two.
No, no.
Many other people have suffered worse or same or similar. Or
Yeah.
not to work, not as bad, but still suffer as bad.
Well, it still suffers the trauma, eh?
And it you just can't take some of that stuff away. So sometimes we need that revolving door because we might go up 2 steps and then go back 3, but then
Yeah,
climb forward and go back 1. So
definitely.
it, you are always going to relapse, even if it's only a little bit, or you've a bad couple of days together and you just start to fall a little bit.
Me wobble.
Sometimes you need that support.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of the reason again why I don't think counselling works. Yeah, you can go and have 10-week sessions, 12 weeks, but if you're not mentally in a mental place, in the right state of mind, you're here anyway. I don't see that 12 weeks of counselling over 12 weeks is going to just solve all your problems in one go. It's not.
Yeah,
You know, you might need that 12 weeks, but in 3 weeks you might need to go back and have another 6 weeks.
definitely.
And
Definitely.
that's never been an option. It's sort of like you do your 12 weeks and then it's like, oh, you're all right now. You've been in counselling. That's you. You're all right, Darren. You've done your 10 weeks of counselling, mate. See you
Yeah.
later. Bye.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the end of it. Do you know? It doesn't work like that, does
No,
it?
no, no, no. Well, that's what I'm saying. I just finished with my counselling there. When my psychologist in. It was just I've been there for about 3, 4 years, and it was just like you say, right, I'm leaving the project, I thought it was called, and I was like, well, who's going to be my next psychologist, right? And they were like, well, you hear in the post, you know what I'm talking about, right? No bother, but you know what I mean? What if I need to talk? And then I'm going to need to start all the way to the beginning with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just, as you say, it's rehabilitation. I didn't understand the word. You know what I mean? Because there's no such thing. Because they try and say it, but they just keep pushing you this and that, and you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yourselves a
Totally
shake
agree.
and realise that there's people need rehabilitated that didn't need to be in prison. It need to be in mental health institutions or stuff like that. You know what I mean? They shouldn't be in prison. I've met many prisoners that should not be in prison with a psychological and mental health state. You know what I mean? They should be in a psychiatric ward. You know what I'm talking about? But the how you might rehabilitate them? You know what I mean? They're friends, but the 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 prison officers just lock them in a cell and just leave them to kind of get it out of them. You know what I'm talking about? So
Yeah.
it's just one of the ones, eh? But other than that, yeah, and then you want to kind of
I think down here in Scarborough as well, being more seaside we are city centre or city wise like Leeds or yeah, everything is more slowed down. Whereas maybe in Glasgow, London, I would expect that there's a lot more younger crime, and I would expect it to be something more put into place for them than there is. It like you might get one or two here in Scarborough, whereas there'll be 200 in London. Do you get what I mean? Because of the scale of problems bigger, so I would expect them to have something more in place in a city centre.
mm-hmm.
In the rough cities, do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, that's as you say,
But again, I think,
you just touched on it there. Like the big cities have got a lot more, but youth offending and gang fighting stuff like that, and they've been saying for the last 10 years, and that they're no, they're going to tackle this, they're going to tackle that, but you hear it every day in the news that they're not doing, you know what I mean? Families crying at this, about that. So they need more kind of funding projects, and as I say, the government to wake up and say, listen, people need to get a chance to pay the funding. You know what I mean? And stuff like that.
yeah,
So if they're not going to do that, then why offer the funding if they're not going to get it? You know what I mean? That's what I don't understand, eh? And
bizarre, isn't it?
aye, it's just it kind of puzzles my head as how they didn't. Well, up here they didn't keep kind of seem to think about their own. You know what I'm talking about? They just kind
Yeah,
of let it go. You know what I mean? All the gang fighting and that and stuff like that. But there's nobody kind of didn't the big didn't like London, didn't like England and London or you see the telly the news all the time. People out in the streets marching, blah this, blah that. Up here, you didn't get none like that. You don't get nothing like that up here. And you know, in apart from like Mitchell, right? As I say, it's into July. There's a big protest at Holyrood Park at Scottish Parliament. Look, but other than that, you know what I mean?
Can I ask
That
you something about? Can I ask you something about that while we're on? It's funny
yeah,
you've mentioned that.
yeah,
How did you get involved with that? I've watched the document. I've watched the documentary. I watched it after you've been on about it.
yeah.
So how did you become involved in that?
I became in that through a guy called Johnny Steele and Dempsey doesn't matter. I followed which case for a long time. I was in prison with him in 2003. And as I say, uh, the boy and Johnny Steele and the rest of us, we all kind of organised a kind of event public. So he is an innocent boy. He's innocent. And look, as I say, Johnny, James, and Stuart kind of reached out to me and said to me, "Darren, you want to help me? I know you kind of blah, blah, blah. So, aye, fine. So, as I say, that's why I got involved with the Luke Mitchell case, right? It's because I know a lot about him, as I say, and stuff like that, you know what I mean? I can't say too much, basically, you know what I mean? I
No,
can't
no,
say
that's all
too much
right.
because of the media,
No,
you
no.
know what I mean? I can't. Guys, Costello, he's watched the movie, and he watched the, you
I've
know,
watched the I watched the documentary. I was just asking how you got involved because that's why I watched the documentary. Because obviously you mentioned it, so I come across it. I just happened to come across it one day, and I said to my lass, "Oh, that's that thing that Darren were on about." I
aye,
went, "Oh,
aye,
watch it." Just obviously with what's going on it and everything I'm doing, it's just interesting as well for me. So I just
yeah.
happened to watch it, and I just thought, it was
Well,
interesting.
I'll
I was
tell you,
interested, that's all. So, but it's fine. I get you can't say too much. I understand that.
what I'll do is see you next week. I'll explain to you, and I'll need to have a word with clubs. I can't say too much, but I'll speak to my folk, right? And as I say, and next week we can speak about it if you want, like how I got involved and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, cool. Yeah, it's fine.
If
Yeah,
you want to do that, that's a subject we can touch on next week.
yeah.
I'll speak to, as I say, wee Johnny. Johnny Steele is if Google him, Johnny Steele is one of the most punished prisoners in Scottish history. Um, he's got a story to tell. He defended his brother and Thomas Campbell and a couple of for his team wars that happened in Scotland years ago in the mid 80s, I think it was. But as I say, Johnny helped his brother escape and stuff like that. They did and his brother got himself to Buckingham Palace gates, Cyberbully. So let, let me speak to them because I can't say because this case is still open. Really, you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah. No, yeah. I realised that because the second documentary got cut off, didn't it?
Aye, because they mentioned somebody's name.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyway, that's besides the wayside. Just want to touch on. I know I mentioned it to you on phone when we were chatting. I know we missed last week, so we're sorry to everybody about that. Darren, something came up with Darren, so we had to miss last week. But
Yeah,
obviously we're back tonight. One of the guys on Darren's lives on YouTube a few weeks ago, somebody had asked about should all prisoners be drug tested when released from prison. And me
was
and
that
Darren didn't spot the question until afterwards, so I just
was that wow,
thought we'd answer
maybe
that, Darren. What do you think?
aye, aye, 100% yes, 100% yes. I think if I didn't know about cannabis, right? I don't know about cannabis because cannabis isn't a drug. Cannabis is a weed, is a natural weed that grows from the ground, right? And it helps out with a lot of problems, right? But um, other drugs that's causing problems, causing like riots, stuff like that. Yes, aye. But if the drug test comes back up with like cannabis, then it should just be a wee kind of right. Yeah, well, it's only cannabis, but aye, all prisoners should be drug tested and staff for the simple fact is that the staff. I know personally the staff, and I've been in the cell with staff that's actually sat there smoke kit and smoke cannabis and whatever else. And so I know personally that prisoners, right, prison officers in HMP Boys is done what I've just said there. So personally, I do. Prisoners and prison officers should be drug tested. But for cannabis, I reckon it should be kind of lenient on, well, very lenient on that. Because the simple fact is, it doesn't make you aggressive. It doesn't make you want to go and hurt people. You know what I mean? But like spice, heroin, cocaine, all that. I mean, I've seen people getting big slash marks in the side of their face just for stupid reasons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what do you think?
I think right from the start of going into prison, right across it, any wing, any prisoner, don't care who you are, everybody should be treated the same. Man, woman, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
As soon as you go in, you should be drug tested regularly. Every prisoner, all members of staff should be drug tested because of the environment they work in. That's just my opinion.
Yep.
And as for on release, I think it possibly depends on the crime that they were in for.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I suppose other factors. But if I was going to say just to make it easy, my answer would be yes, it should be. But if you've got a heroin addict who's gone in as a heroin addict for theft and cut his addiction down and is using less and can go out and manage that addiction without stealing.
Yeah.
Is it fair? Would it be fair then to put him back inside if he was still using? If you was to say, well, you have to recall them if they were caught with drugs in this. Do you get what I'm saying? What would the punishment be? If you're saying everybody had to be tested.
Right, no, I didn't see, no, that shouldn't happen. You know what I mean? Like getting recalled to prison if they've got like some in the system.
Yeah, if you were saying drug testing had to be mandatory for every prisoner.
Yeah.
And you were on license, say. So part of your license conditions would be if you get caught with mandatory drug test that comes back positive, you go back inside for 6 months. Or something along that line. What I'm saying is, how would you punish it? If you're saying every prisoner has to be mandatory drug tested when they come out over the license, the rest of the license or whatever, there would have to be some punishment if you're caught with a test that's positive. You get what I mean?
Aye.
So that'd have to be managed, wouldn't it? That'd be my issue. Is like I say, if you've got somebody who's coming out who's using heroin, who was an addict and going out and shoplifting, or say robbing post offices back in the day. Do you know what I mean? And if they came out and were on mandatory drug test and they brought the drug levels down and weren't stealing, it would seem unfair to put them back inside.
Yeah. But everybody's different, Peter. You know what I mean?
Of course. I mean, I agree with you. My answer would be yes, and I think that should go for every prisoner.
Yeah. But if they're out in license, right? If they've done the sentence and if they're out in license, right? And they go and see a probation worker and they fail a drug test, I don't think they should be put back straight into prison. No. I don't, no for that. They should get a warning. Right? They should get a warning. You know what I mean? Like a 3 strike. You know what I'm talking about? They, you know what I mean? Fail. Or go, right, this is your first warning, and drug test them randomly for maybe the next 6 weeks or something like that. You know what I'm talking about? And just say to them, right, we know heroin comes out your system in 3 days. We know cannabis comes out your system in 30 days. So what we'll do, whatever drugs you've failed on, we'll start it for the day, it's out your system. Any drugs feed in, back in your system, and you'll be getting recalled to prison. Right? You know what I'm talking about? But to recall somebody back to prison for breaking their license, well, I'm going to drug test. I think that actually should be taken out the license itself. You know what I mean? It's because
I'm not saying I disagree. I wouldn't say I disagree with that though, because if you know that's part of your license when you come out, I mean, I'm not saying you're going to stick to it, but if that's part of the license restrictions on it. You know what they are when you come out, irrespective of whether you break that law or not. That's down to your personal choice, whether it be me or you, isn't it?
Yeah, but as I say, it's a very good question. It's a very good question because it's a hard question to ask. Answer, sorry, because as I say, everybody's different. You know what I mean? Everybody's what addiction or the addictive side of them.
Okay, Darren, let me put it this way. Let's imagine it's a guy who drinks a lot.
Right.
It makes him abusive. He's got a girlfriend, but it makes him abusive, and all he does is drink. So part of his license conditions is he's not allowed to drink on release of prison. When he's drinking, he commits offences because he's on the dole. So to support his habit, he's pinching the alcohol. So he's regularly into corner shops or supermarkets pinching. He's abusive to his girlfriend. So
Right.
would it not seem reasonable to put him on a license with a drinking ban, and he'd have to have regular testing? And if they know he's going to commit an offence whilst he's drinking, if they find that he's failed the test before he commits the offence, would it not seem fair to put him back inside for breaking his licence then?
100%, 100%, definitely.
Same thing. Isn't it? A different scenario, isn't it? Like you say, everyone's different, so it just depends on the circumstances. But it's so difficult, isn't it?
If there's a addition, then no, I wouldn't be. You know what I mean? Flinging them back in the jail. But as I say, if there's no one to comply, then aye. You know what I mean? But as you're saying there, I do agree with that because up here when the Celtic and Rangers game's on, right? There's a lot of domestic violence in Scotland with the Celtic golf firm. And what the police usually do is they go round to all the known domestic violence people, but basically one better spin. And what they do is they warn them, or what they'll do is they'll kind of just tell them, listen, you think you're going to be okay in here with him today, or whatever. You know what I mean? They're going to pre-warn them before the game. You know what I'm talking about? So, and they can be removed from the house and put into police custody till after the game. That's what can happen up here. But your subject's totally different what I just said there. But I do 100% drug testing and alcohol testing should be well, it's on your license, isn't it? It's on your license, but you shall not commit a crime. You shall not and but say me and you were criminals, right? Well, right, as I say, you shouldn't. You're not allowed to
For
associate
yourself.
but as I say, you're not allowed to associate with a criminal, right? And stuff like that. So that's on your rules.
Your license.
Your license,
Yeah.
sorry, I'm going to get rid of it. That's on your license.
So what I'm saying is, in answer to that guy's question, is if it was me, my answer would be yes, it's mandatory for every prisoner to be drug tested. What they do with it after that, that's another subject, and we'll talk about that another time.
Definitely. But I think that was through Will. I'm not sure. I think that was for that guy, Will Diggin.
Yeah.
To that, yes, 100%. They should be drug tested and put on a reduced kind of program or help with their needs. You know what I'm talking about? They shouldn't be left to kind of, you know what I mean? Try and work out themselves. You know what I'm talking about? I mean, everybody needs help. You know what I'm talking about? But everybody's different. You know what I mean? It's that way, isn't it? Some people learn, some people won't. You know what I mean? But as I say, it's just one of the things that will always happen, Peter. You know what I mean? It was one of the things that will always happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's sad, but it will always happen. You know what I mean? And the government, until the government get a grip on it and get it a shake and get the justice system kind of get it a shake up, then it's just going to continue the way it is. You know what I mean? And there's going to be a lot of heartache and sleepless nights. You know what I'm talking about? Due to the government. You know what I mean? And as I say, the way the government is now, we're all hardly getting to sleep as it is. You know what I mean? So for the people, it's the victims of these kind of crimes or whatever that they're going to find it worse. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, of course, totally agree.
You know what I mean, Paul? That's my opinion. It should be totally. You need to kind of get drug tests and stuff like that. But we'll leave it at that, Peter. And what I'll do with you is I'll touch up with you during the week by phone. And what we'll do is next week we'll speak to my people about the Luke Mitchell thing, and I'll answer that kind of questions that I can and update you with. You know what I mean, to let you know what you want, or I can drop links, or I'll drop links.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, and you can into the other thing, and same with if you go into thing, mate, you'll get the book, Innocent Betrayed book, off of Amazon, and no, Sandaline. I'll drop the links into the description of the book with the books anyway, and you can anyway and have a wee look, and we'll talk about it, because then that'll give you a wee bit more kind of questions to ask. You know what I mean? Or a wee bit of knowledge, sorry. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What we'll do is we'll leave it here, Peter, and we'll get on. You get anything else there?
It's been an absolute pleasure again, Dan. You've done a great job because you know more about this than I do. Like mine's been my knowledge has been very limited tonight. But it's been good talking to you, really. Thank you. Thanks again.
No, it's definitely the same, mate. As I say, I just apologise for last week. It was due to my brother Paul, as I say, but
no,
talk about that.
It's fine, mate.
You know what I mean?
No worries. Take care.
Right, Peter, from Scotland to Scarborough, speak up Scarborough, gloves up, drugs down, you're not alone, and just for Luke Mitchell, and we'll speak next week. Bye-bye, Peter.
Take care, guys. See you later.
Bye-bye.